facing the police every single day.
Denied medical care while detoxing, Texas woman died in a rural Nevada jail. Anjanette Damon, Reno Gazette-Journal published 2:14 p.m. Pacific Time August 31, 2018 updated 5:38 p.m. Pacific Time August 31, 2018. Locked away in the Mineral County Jail for failing to take care of her traffic tickets, 27-year-old Kelly Coltrane asked to go to the hospital. Instead, as her condition worsened, she was handed a mop and told to clean up her own vomit. She died in her jail cell less than an hour later. Despite being in a video-monitored cell, Mineral County Sheriff's deputies did not recognize that Coltrane had suffered an apparent seizure and had not moved for more than 6 hours. When a deputy finally entered her cell and couldn't wake her, he did not call for medical assistance or attempt to resuscitate her. Coltrane lay dead in her cell until the next morning when state officials arrived to investigate. Details of Coltrane's death 13 months ago came to light this week with the release of a 300-page report compiled by state investigators. The investigation found that Coltrane's jailers violated multiple policies when they denied her medical care after she informed them she was dependent on drugs and suffered seizures when she went through withdrawals. The investigators also asked the Mineral County District Attorney to consider criminal charges in the case, after finding evidence the Mineral County Sheriff's Office may have violated state laws prohibiting inhumane treatment of prisoners and using one's official authority for oppression. To avoid a conflict of interest, the investigation was forwarded to Leon County District Attorney Stephen Rye for review. Rye declined to press charges in the case. The review of the case, in our opinion, did not establish any willful or malicious acts by jail staff that would justify the filing of charges under the requirements of the statute, Rye said. A family photo of Kelly Coltrane. A family photo of Kelly Coltrane. Photo, provided by Carol Fesser. Coltrane's family feels otherwise. On Wednesday, Coltrane's mother, father, and grandmother filed a wrongful death lawsuit, accusing the sheriff's office of ignoring her life-threatening medical condition despite knowing that she was suffering withdrawals and had a history of seizures. Jail staff knew Kelly Coltrane had lain for days at the jail, in bed, buried beneath blankets, vomiting multiple times, refusing meals, trembling, shaking, and rarely moving, lawyers Terry Kaiser Cooper and Carrie Doyle wrote in the lawsuit. Defendants knew Kelly Coltrane was in medical distress. Kelly Coltrane's medical condition was treatable and her death preventable, the lawyers wrote. If Ms. Coltrane had received timely and appropriate medical care, she would not have died. Kelly Coltrane suffered a protracted, extensive, painful, unnecessary death as a result of defendants' failures. Related the Reno Gazette-Journal's investigation into jail deaths in Washoe County. The worst I have ever seen. Kaiser Cooper, who has a decades-long career of successful civil rights lawsuits against Northern Nevada police agencies, said this case is the worst I have ever seen in 33 years. I've never seen anything like this. Mineral County Sheriff Randy Adams referred questions to the county's lawyer but did say he is in the process of updating the jail's policies. Obviously it's terribly unfortunate and it's tragic, Adams said. That's really all I can say. A family photo of Kelly Coltrane. A family photo of Kelly Coltrane. Photo, provided by Carol Fesser. The county's lawyer, Brett Ryman of Reno, also described Coltrane's death as a tragedy, and said the sheriff has hired the Legal and Liability Risk Management Institute to update the jail's policies and provide training for deputies. He declined to answer any specific questions about the investigation because of the family's lawsuit. It's just really difficult for a small rural county like this to handle what is just a massive problem, Ryman said. There are so many people addicted to substances who end up going through withdrawal in the jail. Mineral County is a tiny rural county southeast of Washoe County. Its population is just under 4,500. Kaiser Cooper described Coltrane as a successful student, a friendly outgoing girl, and an exceptionally talented soccer player, who was close to her family. She developed depression and a drug addiction after a knee injury as a teenager living in Las Vegas, the lawsuit said. Related, death follows Washoe County Sheriff's decision to award a $5.9 million no-bid contract to NAFCARE. The day she was arrested. Although she was living in Texas, Coltrane had visited Reno and Lake Tahoe for a family reunion to celebrate her grandmother's 75th birthday. After the celebration, Coltrane was pulled over for speeding outside Hawthorne on July 19, 2017, according to the investigation by the Nevada Division of Investigation. Because she had failed to take care of previous traffic violations in Clark County, the officer who stopped her decided to book her into the Mineral County Jail. While being booked, Coltrane initially refused to answer questions about her medical history and next of kin. But soon after she learned she wouldn't be able to make bail, she informed Sergeant Jim Holland that she was dependent on drugs and had a history of seizures when she went through withdrawals, according to the investigative report. After Coltrane came forward with her medical history, Holland did not follow a jail policy that requires inmates with a history of seizures to be cleared by a doctor before being held at the jail. Nor did jail staff follow medical protocol of carefully monitoring the vitals of a person undergoing withdrawals. In fact, the jail had no on-site medical care, relying instead on the hospital across the street to attend to inmates' medical needs and prescriptions. RGJ investigates the stories that made a difference in Northern Nevada. Deputy denied her access to hospital. About 4 hours after she was booked into the jail, Coltrane told the night deputy she needed to go to the hospital right away for medication. Instead of following the jail's medical care policy, he told Coltrane she couldn't get help unless he determined her life was at risk. Unfortunately, since you're DTing, referring to the detoxification process, I'm not going to take you over to the hospital right now just to get your fix, Deputy Ray Gulsinski told Coltrane, according to the investigation report. That's not the way detention works, unfortunately. You are incarcerated with us, so, you don't get to go to the hospital when you want. When we feel that your life is at risk, then you will go. Coltrane spent the next 3 days in her cell, eating almost nothing and drinking a little bit of water. She spent most of her time curled in the fetal position underneath blankets. Early on July 22, 2017, her third day in the jail, Coltrane began vomiting, trembling, and making short, convulsive type movements, according to the investigative report. A little after 5 p.m. that day, Holland brought Coltrane dinner and water and tried to talk her into eating a little bit of food. She ate a few bites. This still taken from Mineral County Sheriff's Office surveillance video shows Sergeant Jim Holland asks Kelly Coltrane to mop her cell. This still taken from Mineral County Sheriff's Office surveillance video shows Sergeant Jim Holland asks Kelly Coltrane to mop her cell. Photo, Mineral County Sheriff's Office. Holland then brought her a new set of jail clothing to replace her soiled uniform and a mop, asking her to clean the vomit from her floor, according to the investigative report. Coltrane sat still for a few minutes until Holland returned and asked her again to mop. According to video reviewed by the Reno Gazette-Journal, Coltrane then began mopping her floor while still sitting on her bed. She was trembling during the process and stopped often to rest. A few minutes later, Holland returns to point out the spots she had missed. Coltrane wipes up the spots and Holland leaves with the mop. Holland later told an investigator that he thought it was odd Coltrane didn't get out of bed to mop the floor. Sergeant Holland advised he thought Coltrane was just lazy and that she just didn't want to stand up to clean the floor, the report said. Sergeant Holland advised he just wanted the floor to be cleaned and he didn't care how it got done, just that it got cleaned up. This was the last time Coltrane was seen alive. Hours pass before deputies realize she is dead. Paramedics not called. Less than an hour later, Coltrane was shown on the video lying in the fetal position when her body suddenly goes rigid and her legs straighten. While on her stomach, her face slowly rises toward the back wall and her arm stretches out and hangs off the bed. Her head lowers back onto the mattress and for the next several minutes her body appears to go through periodic convulsions. Coltrane then stops moving entirely about 6:26 p.m. The video shows her lying still in the same position until about 12:30 a.m. when Gulsinski arrives to move her to a different cell and finds her unresponsive. According to the investigation report, the 20-minute section of video depicting Gulsinski entering her cell was missing entirely from the files the state obtained for its investigation from the sheriff's office. But a Reno Gazette-Journal reporter found the video in files provided by Kaiser Cooper. The video shows Gulsinski walk into the cell and nudge Coltrane's leg with the tip of his boot. When she didn't respond, he enters the cell, looks at her face, briefly touches her arm and then quickly exits the cell. This still from Mineral County Sheriff's Office surveillance video shows Deputy Ray Gulsinski tapping Kelly Coltrane with his boot and finding her unresponsive. This still from Mineral County Sheriff's Office surveillance video shows Deputy Ray Gulsinski tapping Kelly Coltrane with his boot and finding her unresponsive. Photo, Mineral County Sheriff's Office. According to the investigative report, Gulsinski notified his supervisors that Coltrane appeared dead and was cold to the touch. The video then shows him re-enter the cell and check for a pulse on Coltrane's neck before leaving again. The sheriff's office then left Coltrane's body locked in the cell until a Washoe County forensic technician arrived at 5:48 a.m. to begin the investigation. No one on staff called for paramedics after finding Coltrane lying unresponsive and cold on her bed, according to the investigation. The lawsuit said the sheriff's office had no policy for what to do after discovering an unresponsive inmate. The Washoe County medical examiner labeled Coltrane's death accidental, caused by complications of drug use. The toxicology results showed she had heroin in her system. Investigator, had deputies followed policy, she may not have been in danger. Gulsinski told investigators that he had periodically looked at Coltrane from the video monitor outside her cell but thought she was asleep. The sheriff's policy requires deputies to physically check inmates under observation at least twice an hour if they are lying under blankets. That didn't occur, according to the investigation. Holland told investigators that Coltrane never looked good, but that he couldn't force medical attention on inmates. The state investigator assigned to the case, Detective Damon Earle, noted in his report that had Gulsinski and Holland adhered to some of the department policies in place, Coltrane may not have been in as much danger. There were a limited number of times where Coltrane had actual contact with the staff, Earle wrote. This may be significant because had more contact been made with Coltrane, indicators of Kelly's medical condition may have been observed. These indicators may have alerted staff, therefore prompting medical attention to be rendered to Coltrane. At one point in his investigation, Earle timed his walk from the jail to the hospital across the street. It took a little over 2 minutes. Ryman, Mineral County's lawyer, said he couldn't comment on the specifics of the investigation, including why no one called for emergency medical help when Coltrane was discovered unresponsive. He also wouldn't comment on whether any disciplinary action was taken against either Gulsinski or Holland. The lawsuit, however, said both men were disciplined but that Holland opted to retire early. In June, the Mineral County Commission voted unanimously to buy Holland an additional year toward his service for a cost of $17,853. The buyout allowed Holland to retire with a higher annual pension and health care benefits than if it had been denied. District Attorney didn't find cruel, oppressive, or malicious treatment. In reviewing the case for criminal charges, Rye, the Leon County District Attorney, said he couldn't find evidence that the two jailers acted maliciously. Based on my review, they did not notice any signs warranting any medical intervention based on their training or experience, Rye said. They were provided information related to her, and it appeared to me that was taken into account in her housing and monitoring. The officers did not ignore information provided to them. And, based on the reports by ND, it did not appear that they exhibited any cruel, oppressive, or malicious treatment. Kaiser Cooper, however, believes policies and training are less than adequate at the Mineral County Jail. The lawsuit by Coltrane's family seeks not only compensation for their loss, but also for Sheriff Adams to improve the conditions at the jail. Kaiser Cooper said the family won't settle their lawsuit without that. Ryman said such changes are already underway, but within the small county's limited resources. The policies of the jail in regard to people who have addictions and are undergoing withdrawals have the full attention of the sheriff and the county, despite the fact of the lawsuit, Ryman said. Even outside the lawsuit, the sheriff will go forward with this kind of training. Everything will be done to the best ability of this small county. They don't have the resources of someone like Washoe County. Read the Reno Gazette-Journal's investigation into jail deaths in Washoe County. Police use who may want to retaliate against him physically.
Hey Charlotte County, this is Charlotte County COPWATCH, and I just wanted you to know that I am using this stuff under fair use. And also remember to like and subscribe this channel. Also too, keep in mind I do not make any money on YouTube. This is 5 hours work a day, you know, fighting for freedom. And you can donate with PayPal and Patreon. I just want you to think about this. If everybody gives to PayPal and Patreon, Patreon is every month. Actually, PayPal you can do every month. I have 12,000 subscribers. If everybody gives, I can quit my regular job and go full-time investigations on Charlotte County and possibly even more and beyond. So just keep that in mind. If everybody helps out, I can go full-time doing this. Thanks.